everyone. Welcome back to the Remote No Pressure Podcast.
Hello.
Bill, it's great to be back.
Great to be here.
You got big Thanksgiving plans?
Yeah, my family always does a big get-together every year. Yeah.
Where is it going to be? Up in Cadillac?
Yep, actually in Cadillac, yeah.
Really, your mom's house?
No, we're from another city. We're not from Cadillac. You don't say that about my family. No, there's nothing wrong with Cadillac, but this is from family in Cadillac, yeah.
You guys are McBain?
That's correct. Did you just look that up on your phone?
No, I didn't. I didn't. Actually, I was looking up the ad copy that Ross White provided us from Deli Fresh Design.
Oh, go on.
Remember I told you a couple of weeks ago we may have lost a sponsor.
Yeah.
Because we act like ding dong sometimes.
Yeah. Can you say that on the air?
This one we can.
All right.
This one we can.
Since it's talking about our bad behavior.
Because it's about our bad behavior. No, I don't know if that's why Ross sent it over, but I asked him when he signed up to be a sponsor. First of all, I warned him. You never know. But second of all, I was like, you have some copy for us to read? And so he sent some over this way. Deli Fresh Design.
Yeah.
Deli Fresh Design makes outdoor gear that is simple, reliable, and sustainable. It recycles rock climbing rope, sailcloth, fishing waders, and other tough materials into essential products for enjoying the outdoors. All are made in Colorado. Also, if you could mention the web address, plus... Oh, that's me. Okay, never mind. Check it out at delifreshdesign.com. Seriously, delifreshdesign.com. Type in RNP20. That's our discount code. And any orders over $75 will get free shipping.
Thanks, and quit being a ding-dong.
I wasn't gonna read that, but thanks, Bill. Thanks. No. But seriously, Ross White makes an unbelievable. And here's the deal. When you guys buy from our sponsors, you buy from us.
That's right.
And so, and you know, we're a small business, and we're really appreciative of what Deli Fresh Design. They've been with us for the year, and we just send a lot of gratitude out to them.
They've been with us since last year. I mean, they've been with us a long time.
Yeah. It's been a good partnership.
Yeah, they have.
The other partnership, the other sponsor that we have is Manscaped.
Hey,
Bill, would you like to talk about this?
Oh boy. So the Lawnmower 2.0. This is a good product here. Hyper hygienic.
Non-slip.
We just start reading the back as we hold it up.
Adjustable guard.
60-minute usage. If you got that long of mowing to do or trimming to do, I don't want to talk. I was gonna say we should talk about it. No, we shouldn't talk about it. That's
right. Well,
water resistant though too.
It's water resistant. It's a shaver. It's refining the gentleman down below.
Yes, it is.
Manscaped, the Lawnmower 2.0. Bill's used it.
I have.
They also have all kinds of other products. If you use the discount code Remote No Pressure, you get
all one word, no space. I believe, right?
All one word, no spaces. You're gonna get free shipping and. Was it 20% off?
I think so, yeah.
20% off.
You get a heck of a deal. A buddy of mine just showed me his bundle. I always got to watch how I say this. He showed me his package, and it was pretty good. He had a pretty good package he got from them.
Good, clean, smooth package he got from Manscaped. You can only get that kind of package from Manscaped. Good, clean, sleek design, waterproof. They'll send you your own your very own package for free.
Thank us later.
Yeah, you'll get the shipping for free when you type in RNP20. I mean, we can say more about the Lawnmower 2.0, but I think most people know what it is.
That's right.
It's a trimmer for your nether regions.
That's right.
Thank you very much to Manscaped. We really appreciate your partnership.
Yes, we do.
Bill, so Thanksgiving's coming up. I mean, what do you got on the docket? I mean, you've got this thing up in Cadillac.
That's right.
Is this your wife's first time around all of your family?
Yes, this is going to be the big one because she's never hung around the Geisman clan.
How do you feel about that?
I'm a little nervous going into this because this is kind of a big deal. We're a loud, rowdy bunch.
Are you really?
We are not like crazy rowdy, but I mean like we get loud.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't think that about you, Bill. Not that it's a bad thing.
I'm kind of refined, but I used to be wild.
You are refined. You are a refined person. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's interesting. So this is her first time. Now, your brother-in-law, who's married to your sister, did he go to your family the first time? What was that like the first time he was with your family?
He fit in pretty good, but he can get kind of loud too. So, he's a talker.
Well, there you go.
That's it. He likes to talk, and he likes to fit in. So, and he did. So
now, is your wife? Can she get kind of crazy and wild?
She is. I think she could, but I don't know. Her first time meeting this group of people, it could be off-putting to her. Not in a bad way, but just like she's an introvert like I am. So it might be like overwhelming, which I just gotta kind of keep my eye on her, make sure she's comfortable because we're a loud bunch of people, and she can be loud as well in the right setting, but she's got to be comfortable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Totally. And you know what? My father has been listening to our show.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Hey, Dad.
Hey, good to meet you, Mr. Troutman. Well, I didn't meet you,
but he's been listening to our show.
Oh, so he's heard about the manscaping and.
Well, you know what? It is what it is. I'm a 39-year-old man. I'm a man in my 30s. I'm 39. I'm a man in my 30s for a few more months.
Hair grows in places.
Things he understands. But my dad is a good dad. Yeah. I have a good dad. I'm very happy that I have the father that I have, considering all the crap I've been through. So I'm trying not trying to get emotional here, but I will tell this funny story. You see, my parents are divorced, and so I remember the first time that my stepmom and brother went to meet our family, right? Because that was a big deal.
Yeah.
For everyone. And my stepbrother and I, he's 1 year younger than me, and we're really close friends. And we've always been pretty close for stepbrothers. Well, anyways, I remember me and him got into a big fight. This is the first time that they've ever been our family. So one of the few fights my brother Aaron and I got into, and I hit him in the eye, gave him a black eye.
Whoa.
And I felt horrible.
Wow.
Like, really, yeah. That was a first time gone bad. One of those things.
Was that your first fight?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Was that your last fight?
Pretty much. We were both, I don't know why we fought. I don't understand it. When you're a dumb kid, there's weird feelings.
Did you ever,
you're trying to process
punch anybody else out or like in the eye after that? Like,
I was never a fighter.
Yeah.
I was never a fighter. I got in one other fight on the school ground, and we talked about Chucky Mouton, my arch nemesis in Broadus, Texas. You either fight or it doesn't matter if you win or lose. If you lose, they're gonna win or lose. They know you're not a pushover, and they're gonna quit messing with you.
That's right.
So I had to fight Chucky Mouton. We've talked about this, but I was never a fighter unless I had to.
Yeah.
If I had to fight, but I always regretted that fight with my brother. Yeah, because my brother was he's a good friend,
Yeah.
But when you're young, you're processing all those weird emotions. This is the first time he's here. This is the first time, like, there's a lot of changes. This is my new mom kind of thing. And I just don't think, and for him, looking at this is a family he's never met. He was like 9 years old, all new stuff. All of a sudden, welcome. Here's Uncle Jimmy, Aunt Pat, and Carolyn and Loretta. Those are all our legitimate names. And he was probably like, who are these people? And we were all trying to process those
and then,
feelings.
Bam. Right in the eye.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he chased me with a baseball bat.
Oh, really?
Something crazy, like, because
we
were just dumb kids, man.
That got rowdy.
Oh, we got rowdy.
That escalated quickly.
My older brother and I, I'll fight on a daily basis. He's my blood brother. Every day. My poor parents had to put up with us fighting nonstop. Did you fight with your brothers at all?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was the youngest. I was the baby of the family. And I would, I was picked on, but I would have to hold my own, too. Like, we didn't get in fist fights or nothing. They would just push me around a lot, Yeah. But I was 5 years younger. So if he was like 15, I was 10. And I was getting, a little bullied. I know my brother doesn't listen, so I can say what I want here. But.
Well, yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of weird, the whole sibling thing.
Yeah.
But anyways, in other news,
it was silent and awkward for too long.
I don't know why, but several of our and other news segments have involved some type of feces.
Yeah, go on.
Why is that? Why are we really that immature and
like
young?
12 years old at heart.
We really are. But mystery pooper soiling schools track on a daily basis was superintendent, police say. Human poop was found outside of this school every single day. A mystery pooper at a New Jersey high school turned out to be the school district superintendent.
Wow.
Thomas Tramaglini.
What would make you turn on your, like, do you hate your job that much? Like, that's it. I'm going out to the track and I'm just going to crap on the track. I don't even care anymore.
I know. Like,
or do you hate your facilities team, your maintenance crew so much? Like, you know, I'll show them.
Or was there some kind of like sexual component to it?
That's the sick, sad thing about this world too. I don't know.
Well, it says here, Thomas Tramaglini, age 42, of Aberdeen, New Jersey, is charged with defecating in public, lewdness, and littering. Human feces had recently been found, quote, on a daily basis on or near Holmdel High School's track and football field, according to Holmdel Township Police. Surveillance cameras caught Tramaglini in the act, police said, and he was charged Monday. The superintendent was apparently running at the track at 5:50 a.m. before he was arrested. Tramaglini has since taken a paid leave of absence. He was making $147,504 per year.
Oh, my goodness.
As a superintendent of Kenilworth School District. He is scheduled to appear in court Monday. $150,000
down the drain. Well, on the track.
Crapped it away. Just crapped it away. Why would you do this?
You know, we had a phantom pooper at my job.
Did you really?
We did.
Were you the phantom poop?
I was not the phantom pooper. I have a buddy who works the grounds crew there, and this has been probably 5-6 years ago. And on a pretty regular basis, I want to say once a week, but maybe daily. I can't remember because it's been some time. We would get a random present on. We have a bridge that goes like over a little creek, and a random just deuce laid out there with just a little piece of toilet paper over the top to let us know it wasn't a deer.
It was intentional.
This was from me, not me saying that, but like
how many times did this happen?
Oh man, dozens. I mean,
are you serious?
I had one of our grounds crew was like so ticked off to the point where they're like, I'm just gonna sit out here with my pellet gun or my paintball gun, and I'm gonna light them up in the middle of the night if I catch them.
Did they catch the guy?
They didn't.
Was it you, Bill?
No. They're on to me. I got to quit this.
It's funny, Bill, how every night you sit out here with your pellet gun with me, it never happens.
Oh, there it is. Nope.
There it is. The old Sherlock Holmes starting to kick in there. The public soiling.
Well, no sign of it tonight. We might as well go home.
I'm pretty sure he's not going to come out tonight. Why? Because that pooper is me.
It was me.
Oh man, we'll put a stupid art. I can't believe though, for $147,000, you're gonna be pooping.
Do you think
around.
he was like running on the track? Because I said he got picked up while running on the track. Do you think he was just running and he's like, "Oh crap, I can't make it"?
But every day, you would think, okay, you should probably
You know your routine.
Yes, I know my routine. I know the approximate time I'm gonna poop. Pretty much every single day.
I can usually feel it coming on. I'm not surprised by it, you know?
But is your first reaction like, I feel something moving, I'm going to just squat right here wherever I'm at and just drop deuce?
No.
Not one time. Not one time has that happened to me.
I hate doing that when I'm camping.
Yeah.
Like, I always have to, like, go and find the perfect spot off the trail where nobody can see me.
Well, you know where we go in the Manistee National Forest.
Yep.
You know that one place that sells the good bratwurst?
Yep.
Hickory, I don't know what it's called, in the middle of nowhere. It's like
no, that burned, dude.
It's the first. It burned down.
Yeah.
When was this?
Oh wait, do you mean the gas station on the corner?
gas station?
Okay.
Not the actual sausage
the
place.
General store up there.
Yeah, that one burned down.
No, is it Dutton?
Something
you know what I'm talking
like
about.
that. Yeah. Well, anyways, that bathroom is the first one out of the woods.
Yep.
And if you go in that thing after camping,
dude,
you might as well just back out. You might as well go outside. That's the time when I might actually squat down in the back and just drop deuce.
Yeah. In a parking lot.
Oh my gosh. One of the things that we got a great episode ahead of us, Bill.
Yeah.
And with all the fecal talk, we should start a segment called Fecal Matters. like matters. You know what I mean? Like it matters.
Yeah.
But yet we're talking about fecal matters.
Yeah. I'm following. I'm on board with this.
Who was it?
Why don't we just start a podcast about this?
What was it? South Park that has the little like poop
Mr.
guy?
Hanky? No. Yeah. Mr. Hanky the Christmas poop.
Yeah. Fecal Matters. Yeah, we obviously don't have a female guest today.
Thank God. I apologize for the last time with
But
anyways,
we do have an excellent interview ahead of us. And the thing is, Bill, we get into some really good conversation. I'm really happy. I feel like I'm back on my game, Bill.
Yes.
With the interviewing questions.
Wait, were you off your game? Because
I kind of felt like it, getting into season 3, starting to ramp things up, you know. But we had a really good conversation about very deep spiritual things.
Whoa.
Not religious things.
Whoa.
It's kind of heavy to be talking about poop before this.
Man, did I ruin this show? Did I come on?
You have
did I come on?
Absolutely ruined it.
Oh man. Edit. Just take all this out. It's gonna be welcome to Remote No Pressure. And today's guest is
No, that's not but this guy was Jon Piacquadio. We pronounce it in the beginning of the show. It's an amazing story. He's just a wanderer, and it's like sometimes talking to him, I could hear myself talking back to me. Like, it was very weird.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Looking forward to this.
So, John, we really appreciate you hanging out with us, and thank you guys for tuning in. Welcome to the podcast. Let's light the fire. Well, cool. Well, let's get started. Well, today on the Remote No Pressure podcast, I am personally very excited to speak with Jon Piacquadio. Thank you so much for joining us, John.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Now, what is your handle on Instagram? It's Zen Art.
Zen Fly Art.
How did you come up with that name, John?
Well, I was living in Minneapolis before, and before I was, Twin Cities Urban Fly for a little while, and then I ended up moving to Mexico, and then I moved to Montana, and now that's where I've been for 5 years or so. And just the act of fly fishing, and I'm also an artist, and so I was making I make paintings and drawings of mostly flies, and they look very Asian in a way, and it's the technique I use, which is just ink and a brush. So they're reminiscent of Asian paintings, which is called sumi, which is these like quick ink paintings with brushes and ink, and just all the things together kind of like added up to Zen Fly Fishing, and I make art. So that's how that came about.
Why all the moves, John?
I was in Minneapolis. I grew up in New York, in the Bronx, which is also like its own story. Like, I don't know how I got into fly fishing with like that place being my place of birth and origin. But I found myself, I think I was in my late 20s, early 30s. I had moved to Minneapolis, and I was a drug and alcohol counselor, therapist, working with people that had brain injuries specifically. And I was there. That's what I did. That was my career. And a woman I met who I ended up marrying, and eventually we separated and got divorced eventually. But she was very free-spirited and was like, oh, we should just travel around to like really cool places, and you can quit your career that you went to grad school for, and you can take people fishing and make art like you want to do. And I was, it took her about a year to kind of break me down to the point where I was like, okay, we can do this. To get in that mindset of kind of, being free, you don't have a 401k, you're working day to day kind of. And we moved to Mexico, and I worked at it was a yoga and surf retreat place called Present Moment in Troncones, Mexico, which is outside of Zihuatanejo. And I did some like therapy type stuff there, but for the most part, I just painted, and also I took people fishing down there too. and it's on the West Coast, pretty far down, but the Pacific. And I would take people fishing, mostly fly fishing, on the beach for Jack Crevalle mostly, but whatever's in the ocean near near the beach. And so that was fun. And then in the summertime, the place closed down for the most part, because in Mexico everything closes down for the summer because it's just too hot. And we ended up moving to Montana for the summer. And she's like, "Oh, you can work here. They have a blue ribbon trout stream on property." And I was like, "Okay, that's fine. That works for me." And we never went back to Mexico. We just stayed in Montana. And and then I just was a full-time fly fishing guide here for the place I work. And I also am the artist in residence. And so I do some art classes as well.
Now, a quick question for you. I guess it's not a quick question, but what made you not go into fly fishing and painting earlier and choose the drug rehabilitation major instead?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I was raised in a way where it was like my dad's an Italian immigrant, and like when he was growing up in the Bronx, it was like, you get a city job where you have a pension and stuff like that. And, you do, something that is, I don't know, more proper, I guess, as a career. So you can have enough money for your family and stuff like that. And so growing up, I was always kind of geared towards doing really well in school, to go to a good college, to go to a good grad school, to get a good job, And that was my mindset for a really long time. And that was just always what I thought I had to do, was kind of have a normal life. And at the same time, growing up, my dad wasn't even a fisherman, but he had a friend on the Jersey Shore that we would go visit once or twice a summer. And we would go out off the Jersey Shore fishing for shark and bluefish. And I guess that just had an impact on me, because even, 4 or 5 years old, I was just obsessed with fishing. And it was just from these like couple of times a year going fishing. The rest of the year, I was just thinking about fishing. It was kind of funny. I don't know. Like, I know there was this one book that my parents would read to me as a kid. And it was by, who was it? Richard Scarry is a guy who did children's books, I don't know, back in the 60s and 70s. And there is one story in this book that's about this guy named Pierre Bear. And he's like this outdoorsman, mountain man. He's a bear, anthropomorphically a human bear. But he like goes out. I think he lives in like Alaska or Canada or something. And he goes out and he shoots moose and is like a fur trapper and stuff like that. And does like all these like super, for what was for me, outdoorsy, exotic things. And I mean, at one part of the book, I think he kills a bunch of like seals to make seal coats for his family. And I think in the 80s or the 90s, they removed this whole story from the book for obvious reasons. But that was my favorite story growing up. And I mean, my dad's 86 now, and he'll still bring up, like, he's like, "You're becoming more and more like Pierre Bear, like every day, living in Montana." So, fishing was always there. And at some point, I was 13 or so, we moved to Connecticut, where still not, Montana, but it was basically Montana to me, coming, being a kid from the Bronx. And, every chance I got, I would be fishing, local ponds and lakes for bass and panfish and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's interesting that your dad says that. Like, how old? You said he's 86?
Yeah.
And he still brings up this Pierre Bear, this childhood thing.
Yeah.
Like, to him, he probably, like, that was a very good moment for him in his life. although for him to keep bringing it up, like that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. And it's funny. He normally is not the type to remember like very specific childhood, random influences like that too. Like it's kind of out of his wheelhouse to remember something specific like that, but he does, and yeah.
That's really amazing. One of the things I wanted to ask you about on your website, which we put the link up in the show notes there, but one of the things that you came up with on your current project, Meditations on the Fly, one of the things that you had mentioned there, mindfulness and meditation is something that has become important to me in the last couple of years. What made it important? Was there something significant that happened to you? Why is that important to you?
Sure. So when I was a drug and alcohol counselor, first off, I got into that career and that world from my own personal issues with drugs and alcohol. And I've been sober for almost 15 years now. And, I went to AA to get sober. And, there's like a lot of prayer and meditation involved in AA. When I was going to school to become a counselor, I think I was kind of introduced more to specific ideas around meditation. And then when I became a counselor, I did a course where I went out to Seattle, and they had it was mindfulness. What was it? Mindfulness-based relapse prevention. So they basically, their whole framework for the therapy that they were trying to teach us was based around mindfulness and teaching people to utilize mindfulness through their struggles trying to be sober and in their treatment. So a lot of that included, doing our own meditating and, how to ask questions if you're meditating with someone afterwards, like, how does that make you feel? All that type of stuff. And I think the whole idea is to kind of change your relationship with your ideas and thoughts. In this case, around addiction and cravings and stuff like that. Just because you feel something, that doesn't mean you have to act on it. And being mindful helps you to kind of stop in the middle of those cravings and kind of, make a conscious, mindful decision on, okay, well, I feel this way, but I can make the decision not to act upon it. So that kind of became one of my kind of therapeutic modalities for working with my clients. So I was kind of, I had meditation on the brain, while I was working. And so at this point, I'm tying flies. I'm tying lots of flies. I'm fly fishing a lot. This is in Minneapolis. And I realized that I was tying these flies, and you tie a hair to your nymph enough times, you can almost close your eyes and be able to tie one,
Right.
You also know what the inside of this fly looks like, even though nobody's ever going to see it. This object inside and out. And I was wondering, like, if this tying was kind of like an active meditation. So, as I was doing that, I was just wanting to, being an artist, I had gone to college. I majored in art and religious studies. So art was always there. I was always making stuff. And I was like, what would be a really unforgiving medium to try to recreate these flies in a way where it's like, maybe I know the subject matter so well, I could just basically spit it out, without having to, draw, a pencil underdrawing before painting it or anything. Like, I wonder if I could just like spit it out, because my arm and my brain has been so conditioned to knowing what I was tying, maybe like in some, not necessarily magical way, but in some spiritual way or some, some type of way, it'll just like be able to come out of me.
Right.
And the first few times I attempted doing this, I attempted it with ink, which is a very unforgiving medium. You know, what you put down is what you get. You can't erase anything.
Right.
So I did it, and I was pretty impressed. I was like, "Oh yeah, that's a fly." And not only is it a fly, it's a specific fly that I'm trying to through dark lines. I'm trying to represent, and it, like I said, it worked, and that's kind of the majority of what I've been making art-wise for the past, I don't know, 8 years, something like that.
Wow.
So
why religious studies?
That's kind of funny too. It kind of ties in a little bit. I was pretty spiritual and religious just growing up. And I just wanted to know more about it when I got into college. And the thing that happened was, like, in the first couple of semesters, I was being taught, it was religious studies. It wasn't like you were going to school to become a minister or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really the study of why people believe in religion, and like the history and the anthropology and sociology associated with, like, the Jews, 2,000 years ago, and how they came up with their religion and all these other things. And for the most part, most of my professors were atheists, and it was not a very spiritually based education. It was like, a very scientific way of kind of like picking apart things to the point where, you're really questioning the validity of all this stuff as, like, truth and reality. And so it really messed up my head in terms of, my framework for how I was living my life. And so I kind of had a crisis of faith, I guess. And not so ironically, during that time, that's when I got into drugs and alcohol, was when I was having this really rough time trying to understand what I believed. And, looking back, I think of it as, I had God in my life, and then, the faith faltered. And in the absence of that faith, my new God kind of, in a way, became substances, because it made me feel good. And and that led to, lots of problems.
Yeah. Were you raised Catholic then, or?
I was raised Catholic,
Okay.
but I was raised, my father, being Italian, was Catholic.
Sure.
And my mother was Hungarian Baptist, which is strange. You don't really hear Hungarian and Baptist together often. But
Was it like an Orthodox type church, or was it?
No, it's not at all. It was it was like a Southern Baptist church, but it was Hungarian. So I guess at some point in history, some, Baptist missionaries, they were in Hungary in the 1800s and converted all these people to, a very Protestant, non-Orthodox way of thinking about Christianity. So I had both in my life. And so I kind of grew up in a very ecumenical home, or a very kind of accepting of different ways of thinking about the same thing. So I wasn't like super hardcore Catholic or super hardcore Protestant, but I was kind of a mix of both in my understanding of things. So
I'll ask you this question. I'm just, because my mind is racing. I've got so many questions, but as far as the spiritual side of things, when you were trying to study the religion, I mean, were you looking for some kind of absolute answer to something? And then when you didn't find it?
Yeah, totally. I mean, the way I was growing up, like, that was my reality, was like, there's God and there's Jesus, and, I had things fairly figured out, but I wanted to go deeper into it.
Yeah.
And in going deeper into it, it went, it went away where I just questioned things, because all these, like, possibilities were brought up of, oh, well, there really wasn't a Moses, he's just an archetype of blah, 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 like, and yeah, so it totally kind of in my attempt to deepen my understanding and faith, it kind of picked apart the scaffolding in a way.
Yeah, I had a similar experience. I studied theology.
Oh.
And I went into ministry.
Mm-hmm.
I was a musician at a really large church.
Mm-hmm.
And things just kind of unraveled kind of the same way. Just I wanted the truth. I wanted absolute truth. But as an artist, I'm a musician, I'm a songwriter. So as an artist, your job is to question those things.
Exactly.
It's a natural... I just had this conversation with my wife. It's a natural thing for artists to ask these questions, and you have to ask these questions to create art. I am because the more artists I talk to, it's the same conversation. We want absolute truth. We want that, but it's not there. And then we ask questions. We don't just shake our heads, and then we create this medium, whether through music or painting or art, that comes out of us that questions those things. And it's those questions that so many other people are afraid to ask, that all of a sudden they relate to your art because of that question that you had. And that's my total theory. But, listening to
I totally, I'm in that same boat of the way you're thinking. That's definitely the way I think, and I continue to think this way. It's safe when you have absolute answers, and I think the majority of the world has absolute answers in what they believe in, stuff like that. But again, I think it's the artist mentality where you question things because you see anomalies or, little kinks in the, in what you're being told. And so, you question, and it takes you different places.
Yeah, it does. I think that's why a lot of artists struggle with substance abuse. A lot of them. I think it's just these freaking questions that keep you up at night. Like, this doesn't make sense in society, whatever it is, and you're just like, I want it to make sense, but what about this? And people are like, well, don't ask questions or whatever, But it's like I can't help it. Like, I envy the guy at mass or at church or whatever, just shaking his head yes to whatever the pastor says and believes it. I envy that guy, because I want to do the same thing, but I can't because my mind doesn't allow me to do that.
My God, totally. I totally agree. I'm totally empathetic with that. Like that's kind of how I feel.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, in my story, my pursuit of, it's education. And so you're learning more things, and you want those things to all agree with each other and have this absolute truth. But in reality, I don't know how you feel about it, but things are pretty messy, and there's no black and white, God,
I know. I know, brother. I wish there were. I wish that at the end of this journey, you'd be like, oh, okay, that's what it means.
Exactly.
Now I can rest, but it's not,
I don't think it is, because the more I look into things, the more questions I have.
Yes.
And I don't know. I think it's coming to that realization and acceptance that you're not going to know everything, that, maybe you can live your life somehow without going crazy.
Yeah. Maybe that's where the freedom is that maybe that's the absolute truth, is that there is none, and that you settle yourself to that. And okay, this is how it is, and you accept it, and you're present with that. I guess. I don't know, but
I don't know either, but I'd like to hope something like that, because that seems to be what I've been doing the past, bit of my life, is like trying to get to acceptance instead of like absolutes.
Right.
But it's hilarious. I did not think that our conversation was going to be like this religious philosophical thing, but I love it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we try to stay away from religion and politics. But we're not speaking to one or two religions or whatever. I mean, it's just
no.
I think here's the deal, and I had this conversation last week with a couple who were on the podcast, Dan and Allie from Whiskey Leather Works. I'm seeing these people come up, like Sam Harris is a guy I listen to, a podcast.
I love Sam Harris.
Oh my gosh, so good! And there's these great podcasts. They're not spiritual leaders, but they kind of are. They're kind of offering this, and they're selling out stadiums, or at least like
it's insane. There's such a thirst for like these people, and what they have to say, and it's a lot. It's very alternative. I mean, like Sam Harris is an atheist, like
right.
But he, he utilizes a lot of meditation and stuff like that. And he just happens to come to these conclusions that are like, yeah, there's nothing there. It's
Right.
But in the process, the questions that he brings up are very spiritual based, totally.
Right. Him. And then Jordan Peterson is another one.
That was the guy I was going to bring up.
Yeah.
He's kind of like this guru almost to people. And it's, he's interesting because he's so controversial to so many people, but he's not saying anything crazy. He's like, I guess he's kind of conservative in the sense that he talks about, how to align your life in a way that's, fairly traditional, I guess, but like, make your bed in the morning,
Right.
just like doing these like really like mundane, like normal things, like structuring your life in such a way that it's meaningful. But yeah, he sells out stadiums of people that want to hear him talk.
Yeah. It's weird because like there is a thirst there. And that's what I'm trying to uncover on this podcast. And I know that sounds weird that this podcast is this way. If you listen to the first season, it's a lot more philosophical. And as we've come along, it's we have a goofy intro, with me and Wild Bill, and it's funny and it's entertaining. But the reality of it is as I don't think that fly fishing is the answer to all of our problems. John, I don't think like, okay, you're struggling here, go fly fishing, and all of a sudden you'll feel better or do this. But the zen of that tying flies in the wintertime in my basement, the zen of being on a river by myself, it is, there's something spiritual to that versus
100%.
Versus like regular spin gear fishing. And I'm not saying that you can't have an awesome experience when you're fishing with spinning gear. I'm not saying that at all. But I think the thing is with a couple of things. Okay. And I'm sorry. I have these things on my mind and I'm going to just spew them out. Okay.
Go for it.
But like the life cycle of a mayfly. Okay. The rebirth or the birth, and how it comes out of that and goes into, and then it's a spinner and then it dies. And like, there's so many similarities to our life. Where are we in life? And then you have the whole process. You don't just throw something in the water, but what is the hatch? There's like so many different things, so many different lines, and there's a process to it that is also very Zen-like. And I think there's something to this fly fishing thing that is helping fill that gap that people have. And there was an article in the New York Times saying something about the millennials are getting more and more attracted to this fly fishing thing, and I don't think it's a coincidence that we're seeing the growth in fly fishing like we are. And we're also seeing a growth in people like Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson and these guys who have these spiritual but they're not one religion, but they're spiritual. We're thirsty for advice, like good advice, because,
or just meaning in general.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, things are so diverse these days, you can believe whatever you want. And, 50 years ago, things were not like that.
Oh, yeah.
People told you what to believe in and that was it. Now you have the internet and, and it's wonderful, but it makes it in such a way that, finding absolute truth is not easy or even possible,
Yeah.
And at least before we had kind of maybe the charade of absolute truth, I don't know.
Well,
it was more comfortable.
I talked to Justin Witt on this podcast, and he was talking about back in the day, we didn't have the ability to pursue your dream. You didn't have the time. You had to go work.
Yes, exactly.
You had to work in the coal mine. You're not, you're not going to be dreaming when you got hungry kids to feed or, all of a sudden now we have extra money, we have extra time, we have extra resources, we have extra access to knowledge that we have than we've ever had,
Yeah. And at the, it sounds horrible. Like, oh, I got to wake up and go to the coal mine. But there was like a comfort or a safety, maybe emotionally at least, or, you knew what you were going to do every day. You didn't have to worry about things. And there was a structure to everything that you didn't have much choice in because you were forced to have to do it. And now everything's thrown up into the air, and you can kind of pick and choose, and that's stressful to kind of pick and choose and how am I going to do my life? Or what am I going to believe?
Right. Yeah. Even like it comes down to relationships
Totally.
with your family, with
Hmm.
your wife or with your parents, or what do you do when your parent is not an honorable parent, right? Because the Bible says to honor your parents. But what happens when one of your parents is not an honorable person?
Hmm.
How do you handle that? You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Or with your wife, okay, all of a sudden, this a religious belief is no longer your religious belief. What does your marriage look like now? Like
Yeah.
those weird questions that
Hmm.
it's not just, oh, I just gave up religion. It's like there's a lot tied to that.
Hmm. Totally.
Anyways, but the fly fishing thing, that's why I wanted to have you on, was just to talk a little bit about your fly art,
Sure.
and the Zen Fly Art. You have your own website. It's not just
Hmm.
an Instagram. Can people buy prints on there of what you're doing, or how does that
Yeah,
work?
I don't think I have a ton of basically like any image you come across either on the website or through my Instagram. My Instagram's more up to date with everything, day to day. I'm
Mm-hmm.
posting stuff. If it's not a new piece of art, it's fish pics or fly pics. That's mostly it. It's fly pics and art and fish pics. But yeah, if there's anything you see that you like, I can get prints of pretty much anything. Um, or I also do a lot of commissions for people too. So if they go out and they catch the biggest brown trout they ever did on, you know, a purple haze, and um, what I do is kind of make a memorialization or a trophy of it in terms of, I'd like to have that exact fly, like you clip it off about that 20-inch brown trout, and then send it to me, and then I kind of try to reproduce it in such a way that it's specifically that fly, not just a purple haze, but that purple haze. And then there's a framing and matting process of having the painting and the fly in like a little shadow box below the painting, all in one frame. And so then it becomes, yeah, like a trophy of that exact moment in time. Instead of like mounting a fish or
Right.
whatever. So
Well, that's really cool. Well, we'll put your links up to the website, to your
sure.
website up, and to your Instagram. And I just want to say thank you very much, Jon, for hanging out. I know it's kind of a vulnerable conversation to have, but
So having been a therapist and being in AA and stuff like that, like that's the majority of my conversations are vulnerable ones. So it's totally cool.
well, there's a lot of people who reach out to me from this podcast who are addicts. People who,
Yeah.
we do casting for recovery. We do,
Yes. Yep.
we do a lot of stuff with
Mm-hmm.
people, and the stories that we hear from people and the struggles that they've had. That's what it's all about. We're a community, and
Mm-hmm.
it's good to hear people's stories.
Yeah. It's just, you can pick certain aspects and, pick out why fly fishing is therapeutic. And who is it? What's that guy's name? Jay Johnson. I think he's the guy that coined fly fishing saves lives.
Okay, yeah,
That
yeah,
hashtag.
uh-huh.
And he was from GeoBass, and now he's got a show on Animal Planet, I think, about going places and fly fishing and stuff like that. He does the iron fly competitions
Sure,
with
sure.
pig farming.
Yep.
Um, but that idea of fly fishing saving lives, like I can relate to it, and I can see how it does that with people. And there are these therapeutic values, and it's not just one thing. I think there's a combination of things, but we went over a few of them today. Um, like standing in a river by yourself in nature. Um, the interaction, like the direct interaction you have with a wild animal,
Right.
like, in what capacity can you do that? Like go out and, you're not allowed to like go up to an eagle and touch it and, play with it and then return it. That's not acceptable, but you can catch a wild cutthroat trout, in some river somewhere and, put it back if you want. And I think that direct interaction and playing with nature or playing with the wild, I think that's part of it. Um, I also think when we, in fly fishing, which makes it unique from other types of fishing. Like having to be in the present moment for it to be successful is a big thing. Like if you're watching your bobber, or your indicator,
depending on who's talking.
Yeah, exactly. I love calling them bobbers to piss off some people. But if you miss 1/10 of a second, you keep your eye off the bobber, and you got like a hit, and you missed it because you weren't paying attention. You missed the fish.
Right.
So it becomes again like this active meditation where you are so focused in on that bobber that you're not thinking of your shitty past or your crappy future. It's like you have to be in the present, and that's what meditation's all about a lot of the times.
Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Turkey Day.
Happy Turkey Day. It's one of those holidays you could really get behind because being thankful has such a powerful brain thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a lot of power and gratitude.
Yes, there really is. Really is. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today. Don't forget to check out delifreshdesign.com.
That's right.
Enter the code RNP20 and also manscaped.com as well. Discount code remote no pressure for 20% off and free shipping. So 20% off and free shipping. Go to manscaped.com. Also, do us a favor. Leave us a review. We really appreciate that. Every time I get a new review, I get excited. Maybe it's just my poor self-esteem. I don't know.
Could be.
But I really appreciate you guys leaving the reviews, reaching out to us, and we always appreciate that.
Yeah.
So check us out on our socials. Leave us a review, and until next time, go fishing.